Ready? Okay, and welcome to the October 2022 Cabinet meeting of the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. My name is Stephen Cam. I am the Borough Leader, and I have a few housekeeping notes. If you are from members of the public, you're extremely welcome. But I would advise you that if the fire alarm goes continuously or intermittently, it is not a test. It is for real, and you should evacuate following down the stairway there. And if you have a call of nature, the toilet is also in that direction. Can I begin then by introducing the Cabinet and all members who are here? And I think I will start on my far left with Councillor Bora Kwan, if you can say your name and your position. And we'll go round from the left to the far right, where I can see Rowan sitting over there.
Okay, I'm Councillor Bora Kwan and I'm the Cabinet Member for Civic Renewal.
I'm Councillor Alex Sanderson. I am the Cabinet Member for Children and Education.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Wesley Harcourt. I'm the Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology.
Good evening. I am Sharon Holder, Cabinet Member for Public Realm.
Hi, I'm Ben Coleman. I'm the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Health and Adult Social Care.
Hello, I am Frances Ume. I'm the Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Hello, I'm Andrew Jones. I'm the Cabinet Member for the Economy.
Hello, I'm Councillor Rebecca Harvey, Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety.
Good evening, Rowan Ree, Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform.
Excellent. Couldn't have gone any better. Right. Well, that then allows us to move to the first part of the agenda, which is minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 4th of September 2023. Are there any points arising from the minutes? Are those therefore agreed? Thanks very much. Apologies for absence. I don't see anyone missing. So there's none. Declarations of interest. Anything on here that you have to declare as a declaration of interest? None. In which case we move swiftly onto the fuel poverty strategy. And I hand over to the Cabinet Member to talk to that.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Leader. This is actually a joint strategy for myself and also from Councillor Harvey, because we're looking here at the Council's policy on how we can reduce fuel poverty. I think everybody's aware at the moment of the current cost of living crisis, and the cost of heating your home or cooking and so on is one of the major factors in that. Also, this particular paper is important, and why it's a joint paper is the links to climate change, as it shows how energy efficiency and retrofitting of homes can actually impact on carbon footprint and reduce carbon emissions. So it covers the sort of support that we can give people, both in terms of retrofitting their homes, checking their energy efficiency and such like, services such as green doctors and so on. And, you know, promoting things like the GLA warmer home service. Perhaps on the cost of living side of it, Councillor Harvey, you might like to add something.
Yeah, just very briefly, that it's aimed to help people to be able to heat their homes and keep the homes warmer. And there's a work plan around that. So that should help people through the cost of living.
Any questions? Yep.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adrian Pascal-Toubray from the Conservative Party. Having read it, it is absolutely commendable that we are doing things to tackle fuel poverty. Looking at the specific actions, it seems to me that a lot of the initial actions were around increasing awareness and take-up of things that are being done by central government and also by the GLA. And then it moves on from there to specific engagement with people. And then from there, as if by magic, to a desired outcome of fewer people being in fuel poverty. Is there also space here for specific energy efficiency measures done by the council? I know that's alluded to in the paper, but not explicitly spelled out. And if so, it'd be helpful to think along, to ask what lines were you considering?
Yes, there is. Good question. Wesley, do you want to provide more detail?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, this does concentrate it is a strategy, and therefore it's got the various objectives and the order in which things are doing. And it does concentrate initially on getting all the data, making sure that we are targeting the right groups of people in the right parts of the borough. And there's all the maps and diagrams in there that set that out. It talks about the sort of support that we can give. There's the support about looking at energy efficiency, making sure, checking that your home is actually up to an EPC C standard and such like, making sure that people have that information from their landlords and so on. Then there's all the other support that's possible from various advice sector groups like the Citizens Advice, Turn to Us, and all the other people who help with debt. But then obviously there's looking at what is available in terms of grants, making sure people are aware of those grants, because very often one of the problems with some of this sort of thing is people are not aware of those grants or the application process or how to access them. So this is talking about all of that. A lot of this is looking at to a large extent more towards the private homes, because we have a separate strategy for the council properties, and we're looking at the moment of developing a retrofit strategy for council homes and bringing those back up to the sort of standard and energy efficiency that you want. So bear in mind, this is one particular area that we're looking at. The council house stuff will be coming here in the future.
Yeah, just to cover that. So the homes we are directly responsible for, which is the council housing, we're spending over £100 million on retrofitting them. And not only are we making them to a decent home standard and improving that, but also making sure that they will have lower energy bills. Private houses is a very different matter. I mean, there's a debate to be had about to what degree the state should help private houses move to energy efficiency. And I would be on the side of quite considerably, given the challenge of global warming. So what's not properly fleshed out in the document, because it's still work ongoing, is we are mapping each neighbourhood and looking if we can set up cooperative energy companies using solar power and heat pumps to generate electricity for a whole neighbourhood, whether it's 2 streets, whether it's 5 streets. And that's something we hope to bring forward, but that's what the climate change team are working on, along with others in the council. And that's the way I think we'll get to allow people who may not have the capital to put 12 solar panels on the roof. You know, if we can do it collectively as a whole area, then we might find that we're able to generate the energy and do so in a very, very climate positive way. And that's within this strategy, but because it's a strategy document rather than specifically on that issue, it's quite rightly not fleshed out yet, because that work is still going on. But I would happily bring it back here and take more questions from you when it is. Okay, thank you so much. We've got the next item then. Yes, good point. Are we going to approve this policy? That's agreed unanimously. And therefore, we move on to the next item. It's a new cultural strategy for Hammersmith. Sorry, a climate change supplementary planning document, which is item number 5. Andrew.
Thanks very much. So this is an important planning document that is a supplement to our local plan. All local authorities have a local plan which provides the guidance around our planning comprehensively. Councillor Harcourt's team have also worked closely on this and may wish to add things. What it does is basically provide a set of planning guidance around a whole range of some of the things we've just been talking about, but on a much broader brush around climate change and our response to it. So this includes both new and existing homes. We've been talking about retrofitting. It includes embodied carbon in existing buildings, and it includes our approach to a whole range of issues that are related around sustainable design and construction, air quality, flooding, energy use, and so on. So it's quite a wide-ranging document that basically pulls out all of the elements of our existing local plan that's a few years old now, and provides supplementary guidance for developers and others around our approach in planning to climate change. I can answer further questions that Councillor Harcourt may want to add a few words as well.
Thank you, Wesley. You're welcome to come in if you want.
Just a very brief comment to that, because I think Councillor Jones has covered the vast majority of points on this. This is really a supplementary guidance for people. It sets out quite clearly the sort of things that we expect and should enable us to and people to implement our climate change policies that are as part of the local plan. So it goes much further than that. And as it's been said, it covers new build, it covers retrofit, it covers extensions, it covers solar panels, all of those sort of things, and such like, with the aim of reducing carbon footprint. I believe this is the first one of these that's been produced, certainly of any of the London boroughs. So, yeah.
Any questions on that? Any more questions? Yep.
Quick one from me. There's other local authorities that have specifically created policies of retrofit first when the choice is between retrofitting and demolition. Where do we stand on this?
Sorry, can I just qualify your question? Are you talking blanket across private properties, or are you talking only for council-owned properties?
Properties and commercial properties as well.
So the whole caboodle. Okay, Andrew.
I mean, officers may come back to you with more detailed answer. Obviously, we have not taken a blanket policy approach in terms of retrofit, but the planning guidance does basically set a frame to evaluate embodied carbon and the benefits of retrofit as opposed to new build, and degrees of retrofit as well. I can provide I can ask officers to give you a bit more detail on that. But it's compared to places where they've just taken a retrofit policy, this is a more comprehensive planning piece of supplementary guidance.
Yeah, I think the RACS issue has changed quite a lot of that as well, because we are currently we haven't got anything other than independent schools. I say independent in the sense that they're not run by the council rather than they're private schools. But we don't have any schools in the borough that have RAC, but we are doing an audit of buildings. And I know lots of private companies are doing that as well. So I think retrofit is good where you can, because you minimize the carbon footprint. But I think there's getting a balance right there to make sure that you are having buildings that are fit for purpose. And certainly the buildings that we are building at new, such as all the affordable housing you see on Lily Road or in Farm Lane or in Hartop and Lannoy, are passive house standard. So we've taken down some fairly rotten buildings there. I don't think they could have been done up. They were terrible quality. And we're going to replace them with some of the finest homes anywhere in Britain, let alone, and the fact that they're council homes, I think, is something we should all be proud of in the authority. But it's a case-by-case basis. But retrofit is certainly good. It's certainly de rigueur these days, fashionably, as it fits into our climate change agenda of not demolishing perfectly good buildings. That said, we haven't yet clarified a policy on it, just because we're looking at all the buildings possible, and there are other factors coming in. Does that policy, if that's no more questions on that, I would be happy to see if we all agree. And we do. So that item is closed, and we move on to a new cultural strategy for Hammersmith and Fulham. Andrew Jones will introduce that, but we also have some special guests in the audience. And I stress the special. Would you like to come and take a chair, Amy? And is anyone coming with you? Is it just... It's just you. All right. Well, there's no just there. It's you. Yeah. I think you've got your nameplate there. You want it. Yeah. They've had it all specially printed for you. Right. Okay. Andrew will introduce, and then we'll hear from you if that's okay.
Thanks very much. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce this item, which is our new cultural strategy. And just to give a bit of background, this is obviously a very significant thing this evening for the borough. We have been working in this area for at least 5 years as a administration. The process started some years ago with our Arts Commission, which looked at arts provision, cultural provision, our strategy to culture and arts and creative as well in the borough, and came out with an important recommendation, which was that we needed to develop a cultural strategy. And tonight we are able to bring that cultural strategy forward after a great deal of work by many, many people across the borough and key stakeholders engaged with this strategy. It really builds on the work that we started in that Arts Commission, but we've had a wide range of input, and quite a number of colleagues in the cabinet have been involved in this. We see it as a foundation forwards to making a London Borough of Culture bid in a couple of years' time, and it's a very timely moment as we move towards completion around the civic campus. It's very much a partnership strategy, and there's a substantial amount to say about it, but I just want to give you a flavour. 4 of the main themes. There are 4 strategic themes which have quite a lot of ambition in them, and a lot, importantly, of actions that we want to take in order to implement the strategy, which of course within a strategy is the key thing. This primarily, one of the major vehicles is we will develop a cultural compact with lots of our partners and stakeholders and work on 4 main themes, as I said, around Hammersmith and Fulham as a destination, as a cultural destination, as a place where we are creative, a place where we are inclusive, and also thinking about our economic development within the use of the strategy to support businesses and jobs and other aspects of the borough's wider life. So there's been a great deal of thought put into this and a great deal of consultation. We have, obviously Amy's going to say a few words now, but it really feels like a moment where we've spent quite a number of years to get to this point. And importantly, I would emphasize that, as often is the case with strategies, there is have been a great deal of thought around the implementation and the actions we need to take. So it's not just something that's going to be there to read, it's a living thing which we now want to take forward and implement. So I'll leave my introductory comments there. Other Cabinet colleagues may also wish to say a few things because they've been involved.
Does anyone want to come in and say anything? You do.
Yeah, just sort of welcome this. I think it's excellent work. When we first were elected in 2014, I had the pleasure of chairing the Policy and Accountability Committee, where we first discussed an arts strategy, and the Arts Council came and all sorts of people were really excited. And the fact that we started from that small beginning and we are where we are today with the help of everybody in this room, I personally find it very exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, if you're okay, Amy, and as we've got other people here as well, we've got Amy Belson, is that right? Actually, sorry, where am I? These are my reading glasses, you see. These are my long distance glasses are elsewhere. Right, Amy Belson. We've got Mark Racebeck, Director of Public Realm. You hear, Mark? Yeah, good. Val Birchall, Artistic Director, Civic Campus. Over here. Yeah, so we've got some of the officers here. And then in terms of other people from the community, we've got Claudia Suckling, Chief Executive Director of William Morris Society. Are you here? Okay. Harry Fisher-Jones, Deputy Director, HQI. Hiya. Angelique Schmidt, CEO, Kindred Studios. Hiya. And Rosie Whitney-Fish, Chief Executive, Dance West. Right, okay, great. Well, look, thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. Floor is yours, Amy.
Thank you ever so much. And good evening, everyone. It's lovely to meet you all. For those who don't know me, I'm Amy Belson. I'm the Executive Director of the Lyric Hammersmith Theatre, 6 minutes down the road that way. I just thought it was interesting to share with everyone. So this afternoon, I attended the launch of Theatre for Every Child, which is the UK theatre industry's ask of all political parties to ring-fence funding to ensure every young person experiences the life-changing impact of culture before they leave school. Attending this launch this afternoon, it really made me realise how in Hammersmith and Fulham we are leading the way in access to culture. Through the Lyrics partnership with the council, we ensure every primary school child gets to see gets the opportunity to see our panto. Next month, 2,000 school children will get to boo the baddies and sing Glory, Glory Hammersmith together when they attend Cinderella. In June, with the council, we jointly celebrated giving the 24,000th free ticket to William Starr from Hammersmith, who attended the free first night of our summer smash hit show, Schoolgirls, or the African Mean Girls play. As this cultural strategy rightly says, culture is at the heart of this borough's identity. And we at the Lyric are proud to have been the creative heart of this borough for nearly 130 years. And we will celebrate our birthday in 2025. This strategy and Borough of Culture application really crystallises this vital work and the central role culture plays in Hammersmith and Fulham, and would ensure we continue to lead the way for the benefit of everyone who lives and works here. Thanks.
That's great. Right. Any questions to Amy or Andrew, or indeed Ben?
Just very quickly.
Sure. Okay, I hope this is one of your Brexit sort of malarkey things. No, European. Look, we're twinning. We've twinned with a whole bunch of cities around the world, and actually we are in the process of twinning with 2 Far Far Eastern, one Australasian city. But we are currently twinned with a series of European cities. So we see our culture as being totally international. We see Hammersmith Fulham as totally international. I think the reason for European is it's the same argument as why we're very fond of the European Union, is it's where our neighbours are, it's where our closest friends are, it's where normally, if you're in Western Europe, you're a liberal democracy. So you know that you share values with many of those same countries. But it's not, this strategy is about European cities because it's about attracting that. But actually, one of the first things we did as an administration, I'd happened to be on holiday in New York, was to ask the Deputy Mayor of New York if she fancied twinning with us to do an arts and culture and business strategy. So we're very open-minded, but the strategy is for those reasons. Do you want to come in on that, Andrew?
Yes, I mean, well, there's a couple of more things to say. On the question, as we said, we've actually been thinking about our global reach in terms of cultural twinning. We've received actually a number of delegations from around the world in relatively recent periods since the pandemic. And there's quite a bit of thought, I think, in terms of our, this part of London having such global diversity and global reach. So it's not just a European strategy in that sense, as the leader said. There is one other thing I should say, just to follow on from the question, if that's okay, which is that, I mean, the basis of tonight is for us to say that we're going to make a bid for the Borough of Culture in 2025 or 2027. And we're launching that process tonight, but we'll have that's a sort of soft launch, as they say, and we will be having a launch event later in the year to confirm that.
Okay, well, look, I'm really pleased about this report. I would like to hand out some compliments. Ben Coleman did an amazing job as PAC chair. I remember it's probably the best policy and accountability committee I've ever been to. I mean, I remember Andrew joking we should sell tickets. But we did have over 60 people from different arts organisations come to the council. Ben had a roving microphone, and back then, what must be 9 years ago, we sat and listened, and people told us whether they were a two-person clowning school or whether they were the lyric, what they would like to see in the art strategy. And I think that grounding gave the administration a very solid view of what was going on. At the same time, people will famously remember that in our first 3 months in office, we renegotiated 7 deals that we'd inherited from the former Conservative administration. And that made us £52.25 million richer. All money that we got from those 7 organisations. So that gave us the chance really to do some things with that capital money that was coming in. One of them was we saved the Irish Arts and Cultural Centre. We gave them £500,000, something I know, having met the ambassadorial team only last week, that the Irish government is continuously grateful for. And I think the strength of Irish culture in Britain has been enhanced as a consequence of that £500,000. We gave the Bush Theatre £1 million. And then we found out the Lyric Theatre about to go bankrupt because of a dreadful property scheme they'd inherited with a really quite difficult landowner at the time. And we gave them £5 million, which is still at this stage in 2023 the most we've ever given anybody as a capital spend. And that, I think, underlined our commitment, because we also funded many of the small organisations that we had seen in the Policy and Accountability Committee. The Civic Campus, if it's got anything at the heart of it, it's about the artistic rejuvenation of Hammersmith and Fulham, which is why we're renaming it the Hammersmith and Fulham Civic Campus. It will have a 5-screen art house cinema. It will have a concert hall. It will have an art gallery where there used to be a car park. But it will also be a place for people to come and enjoy time with a sky roof garden open to the public, and indeed with arts taking place in the new Unity Square, which is the new town square that we're building. That, I think, sets the tone of what is an artistic super hub and builds on the heritage that, as we quite rightly saw William Morris working in Hammersmith and Fulham, saw the Lyric setting up in Hammersmith, but it also saw us recently building the Sands End Arts and Community Centre, where places like Dance West thrive, and it saw a sort of artistic input coming from Hammersmith and Fulham that allows us, as a tiny borough, to punch well above our weight. I would say, I was on the plane back from New York quite a while ago now, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I decided to watch the Virgin Introduction to London. Do you know they do those different cities? And to my amazement, when they came to Cutting Edge Theatre, they talked about the Bush Theatre. Not any of the theatres in the West End, but the Bush Theatre. And we'd just given them £1 million. So I did feel particularly proud of the artistic community in Hammersmith and Fulham. What we see with the Lyric is not just a theatre, but someone who does outreach to children that goes way beyond what I think any other theatre does in London. And the fact that many of those children come from backgrounds where they don't have the social networks and they don't have a natural theatrical family who might have the family networks. You know, the fact that we're offering them a chance to learn theatre skills, which is good work and something that Britain is also a global powerhouse in, I think is very important on our wider objective of inclusive culture as well as inclusive economic growth. So we don't see arts as a luxury. We see it as fundamental to the reason for living. We don't see arts as separate to the economy. We see it as a reason to want to come and live here in Hammersmith and Fulham. And we see our colleagues and allies in the artistic community as our partners in making this one of the most fantastic place to live anywhere in the world. That's what I think is at the heart of the cultural strategy. It's why we should be the borough of culture. But even if we're not, it's why we will always punch way above our weight when it comes to shining a light into the sky of what cutting edge arts is all about. So thank you very much. Do we have agreement for this policy? Thank you. Next then, we will flick to the next agenda item. But can I just thank Amy for coming and sharing your thoughts with us? And thanks very much, Amy. Okay, so we've now got the capital programme monitor and budget variations. Rowan, over to you.
Thank you very much. Follow that, eh? Yes, so earlier this year, we passed our capital budget, a budget of £243 million, spending on building new affordable housing, improving our housing stock, spending on our parks, on improving our infrastructure and our schools, and money towards some of the decarbonisation and energy efficiency measures that we've spoken about earlier this evening. This is the first of the monitoring reports that we published throughout the year, the first of 4, just looking at any changes to the budgets and updates on how the money is being spent.
Any questions?
Very quick one. Thank you. The increase of 3.4 million to the Clean Air Network scheme. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think paragraph 7 goes into a bit more detail on what the money is being spent on from memory. So this is things like improving walking routes around the borough, improving sustainable drainage schemes, school streets initiative, funding for improved infrastructure of walking and cycling. So this is money coming from section 106, it's money coming from TfL, and money coming from the parking reserve contributions.
I think it's worth providing some wider context, because obviously we have to try and talk to a public that's sometimes skeptical of such things. But, you know, I must say, when it started to rain about 2 weeks ago, really very, very heavily, I had one of what is now a frequent amount of panic attacks about what might happen to my constituents, having met many of them and chaired a meeting in this room, in fact, when they were last flooded out. And what happens when you're flooded out is you struggle, apart from the calamity of seeing all the things that you love in your basement flat or in your basement covered in what's called, somewhat euphemistically, brown water. Apart from that horror of having to clean that up, no matter what physical or mental state you might be in, you then realize that actually, if this is the second time this has happened, you might not be able to get insurance. And if you try and sell the flat because you simply can't bear to be there after such a catastrophe, you might find that that has to appear and that you can't sell the flat. To say Thames Water have been a disgrace at dealing with this, to say they've been political, to say they've tried to blame everybody else but themselves, is a symptom of why the water company should never really have been privatized, I think, because they are not taking the corporate responsibility that any decent corporate citizen would do. But for us as a municipality, as a local government, we've got to take every single measure possibly. And the fact is, when you turn a road into a giant space where you maybe close part of a road to allow for a giant sud scheme, whether that's a bull's pit or an allotment or just a mini park with grass on it, if it swallows up the flood water, then it's stopping it going back into our old-fashioned Victorian system. So that costs capital. And I can tell you, if you have any constituents who've ever been flooded, they are crying out for us to spend the capital. But anybody who's been in local government since 2010 will tell you that local government has lost a third of its central government funding. So as you know, our budget was £184 million revenue in 2010. It's now £132 million. But there's other councils around the country are worse. So the state of our infrastructure, which is how you judge any civilization, is in a very poor state. The fact that that is just one of the many things happening as a consequence of poor infrastructure is shocking. So cleaner neighbourhoods to a degree aren't just about cleaning the air, they're also about protecting the environment and making sure that we can strategically put measures in place that limit catastrophes such as that. But no one thing is about a cleaner neighbourhoods. Cleaning the air, it's stopping flooding, it's improving road safety, it's improving neighbourliness, it's making it easy for people to shop. There's lots of different advantages if you can slow cars down and or even take them off the street in some cases. They've done that all over mainland Europe. Bruges is fantastic as a consequence, but they're doing that all over the UK. And we're quite keen, and part of our mission to make Hammersmith and Fulham the best place to live, that we spend capital programs to make sure that people generally don't have to face those type of challenges. All right, well, thank you very much. That brings us swiftly, I think, to the next item, which is the forward plan of key decisions, which are purely to be noted. Oh, sorry, I need to ask, do we all note that report? Thank you very much. And then we also have another noting item, number 8. Is that noted? That brings us sadly to the end of the meeting. So thank you to everyone who's attended. Thank you.